Hi again, everybody. Discussing the 287 Fluke meter, the newest one. And this one meter is pretty costly. It's almost $700 compared to the other one, which is the 87, maybe around 100 or less. Talking about the features, the selector is the same way. We're going to concentrate now on the DC volts. Volts DC over here. Now I talked about we have all these little soft keys, these menus. This is very tedious to me. This is the part that I don't like. I like the fact that you can see a multiple screen, multiple measurements at one time. However, to get to that point, you have to go into menu and then sub-menu, soft key. It's really very confusing at first for sure. Now, let's do minimum and maximum. So, first of all, this one, put the light on. Now, minimum, maximum is right here. That's good. Now, as I said before, it's going to give you all measurements at one time. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 measurements at one time, which I like. Your minimum, maximum, this is the actual measurement. I have it hooked up to a power supply. The maximum is this one, 717. The minimum is 679. The average between these two is this one. So therefore, as you see, it's always constant, going up and down, fluctuating, measuring it again and again and again, and then it gives you the measurements. Now, let's say I change the measurement on the power supply. Let's say I go to, right now I'm going to go down. Let's say I'm at 6 volts, right? So the minimum, as you see over here, is 6 volts. Let's say I go back up to 12. So right now I'm at 12. And that's what we're measuring. However, the minimum still stays at 6 because that's what I went down to. The minimum has not changed. The average will change and the maximum will change. So, like I said, you could do restart. It'll do right over again. And then you see you lost the 6 volts because now the minimum has changed. It's nice, but again, it's costly. For $600, $700, you should get these features. Now, let's concentrate on something else. Now, let's go again. Volts, regular volts, 12.7. We don't have any on the more measurements here. Menu. This is what we can have. At the present moment with this, we can have Hertz. So if you want Hertz, percent, or milliseconds, this is Hertz. And it'll give you Hertz. Of course, for volts DC, you have no frequency. You go back to the menu. Now, let's say you want volts DC, you want peak or something AC. Let's go to AC plus DC. That means I have to go up to the arrows, the up arrows, see, because I'm going up. To go up to select that one. Now, AC plus DC, I'm on DC volts. If I want to go AC plus DC, if I want to have 2 measurements at the same time, I select this one. And now I have 2 measurements at the same time. See, the top one is AC, the bottom one is DC. Notice the DC is still 12 volts, which was before on top. And the AC, I have no AC because I'm measuring from a DC power supply. If we want to go back to something else, we have to go back to the menu. Let's say we want DC volts and AC volts, the opposite of this. Now what do we get? We get 12.7 volts over here, which is the DC volts, and the AC volts is 0. So we can see 2 measurements at the same time. It's good to see a power supply and see the ripple at the same time. Now what do we want to do? We're going to go back. And AC plus DC, this option is if you have both. Both, it'll give you AC plus DC. So now if you go to startup, now we have all kinds of things. We could go to reset. Again, how do I go back and forth? By these up and down arrows over here and these sideways. So if I want to go back up, I go this one. Okay? If I want to go back down, I go this way. If I want to go sideways, let's say I want to go to calibration, I go this way and one up. Confusing, believe me, it is. Anyway, the thing that I like about this is, let's say if you have something to record, let's say this, You go to recording. You edit something. Recording is nice. Let's say in automotive, let's say you have a battery drain. It's intermittent. It goes on and off, on and off, on and off. If you hook it up as a current meter, and let's say then when you look at the current, sometimes there is a current drain, sometimes there's not a current drain. I can leave this meter on the whole night, hook it up to record, and it'll record over all those hours, and I can see when I actually lost the current and how much current I lost. So overnight, if I put it on recording, come back the next day, open up the hood, and it'll give me the time, because remember, there's a date and there's a time, that I can see exactly when I had the current drain and how much of a current drain. Or let's say the battery voltage went dead on me, right? I can go and I see when the battery went down from 12 volts, 11 volts, 10 volts. And also you can have a scale, a graph. It'll give you a graph and it'll show you the time and the voltages or the current, how you lost it. So that's a good feature to have in automotive when you have a very tricky parasitic draw overnight. You hook this up, you put on recording, it'll record it. You play back the recording, and then you can go and look at the recording and see exactly, yes, I did have a current draw, even though now, in the morning, I don't have a current draw. But it's good to look at the history of it. Now, this will be over here. Now, let's say we look at menu for DC again. So, what do we have over here? We have here, volts DC is regular. We go over here, relative. Relative percent. Which one do we press? If we want relative, we press F1. Relative percent, we do F2. If you want to close this menu, F4. So, relative, see what relative is? The difference between these two. So, there's a reference and what we're actually measuring. So, the difference between them will give you the relative, the difference. So there's a lot of, and you could save it also. You can always save it. You can save it on the file. You can have it in memory. There's a lot of features to this, like I was saying. So anyway, that's the volts DC. Again, to me, it's difficult to find the menus or the sub-menus. I would like Fluke to do something different about that. But when it comes to having all the possibilities and features, it's a great tool to have. See you in the next video.